Today's show is going to be wild. If you are related to me or know me in real life, please do not watch this because it's about to get dirty. On this show, Empire of the Full Moon, I've always claimed to be all about Charles Band and his oeuvre. However, even after 32 episodes of Empire of the Full Moon, I've left out like full parts of his work, full like almost eras, right? Not purposefully, or maybe in this case, what we're talking about today, purposefully, I guess. But obviously, there are some parts of his work that I'm more interested in than others. For instance, I've never covered any movies from the Moonbeam label. Like, quite frankly, I might soon, but maybe not. I still have a long way to go. And if I wanted to cover all the sub-labels that Charles has been involved with, I need, that'll be one of them, right? But I haven't done any shadow films, urban classics, or Monster Island movies. Definitely haven't talked about Torchlight Entertainment or Surrender Cinema. Well, that changes today. I'm going to delve into Torchlight Entertainment. Maybe touch on Surrender Cinema a little bit, and we're going to be talking about Torchlight's first release called Beach Babes from Beyond from 1993. Before I get into that, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell me some of your favorite Torchlight Entertainments or Surrender Cinema flicks. I mean, or don't. It might be a little embarrassing for you, but anyway, let's get into it. From the beginning of Charles Band's career, it's not as if he was shy about giving us the goods when it came to sex and nudity, right? I mean, some of his very first efforts were a sexy version of Cinderella from 1977 and a sexy fairy tale riff called Fairy Tales from 1978. Band produced both of these, actually, and him and his dad wrote, and Charles produced a film in 1978 called Auditions, which is a mockumentary about casting actors and actresses for a sexy film. There was also quite a bit of nudity and sexual topics explored in some of Stuart Gordon's Lovecraft adaptations. However, up until around 1993, he'd never really done a full-blown porn film, softcore, or otherwise, right? We know that he caught the genre bug early on. Creating horror, sci-fi, and fantasy films were his passion. From the book It Came from the Video Aisle, I did some research into Torchlight Entertainment. I read an essay by Torsten Dewey. And it wasn't until, and so basically what I'm saying is the stuff that, all the research I did, you can find in that book and in this essay in that book. So it wasn't until Meridian from 1990 where the subject matter relied on sex. I mean, it didn't necessarily super rely on it, but it became a huge part of that movie. And I'll tell you what, with the success of Full Moon's partnership with Paramount in 1993, Charles Band decided that he wanted to branch out. So he created a couple of sub-labels that would be the labels for a couple of polar opposite type of films. The first was called Moonbeam, which riffed on popular blockbusters and made family and child-friendly movies. The other label was Torchlight Entertainment, and Torchlight films were low-budget softcore movies that piggybacked off like the regular Full Moon films. Torchlight movies used sets, locations, casts, and other resources from the films that Full Moon is known for. For instance, Torchlight's Test Tube Teens from the year 2000. It was named Virgin Hunters during filming. But that's your sets and props with Trancers 3 and Puppet Master 4 and 5. Torchlight even had its own version of Video Zone, which was awesome. It was basically the same behind-the-scenes look, cast interviews, etc., but it was branded Torchlight with its own sexy intro. The Video Zone that was on the same tape as Beach Babes from Beyond starred Sarah Suzanne Brown, who actually starred in Test Tube Teens, which was the second Torchlight film. So basically, in that, you know how they do. You know how it's weird because Charles Band always kind of likes to let us know, as his fans, his plans moving forward. And she talked, Sarah, on this Video Zone, talked about how their plans were to make 8 to 10 Torchlight films a year. And she named off some of the ones on the docket, like Blonde Heaven, Girl Talk Confidential, Lurid Tales, The Castle Queen, and a bunch of, there was a bunch of others as well. The problem is that the first couple of Torchlight films didn't do as well as they'd hoped, and the production schedule wasn't able to go on like they'd hoped. Well, that's not to say they didn't make more films, just that they'd hoped to be more successful, and many of these films weren't even able to be made during the Paramount era, and were kind of pushed back into the Kushner-Locke era, Full Moon. In the essay I read, it mentioned how an apparent problem for Torchlight was that the films were too light for the adults, but too much for teens, so they kind of missed out on both demographics. Well, enter Pat Siciliano. Pat had already been working as a music supervisor for Full Moon, having worked on a lot of the big boys in the beginning, such as Trancers 2, Dollman, Dr. Mordred, some Subspecies, and Puppet Master films. He also had a working relationship with Penthouse, and so he was of the opinion, so he kind of knew that, what people wanted as far as their sexy movies. But he was of the opinion that Charles had never really embraced the softcore work that he was producing. It's not a secret that Charles didn't love to be involved in this kind of movie. In Confessions of a Puppet Master, we hear that quite a bit. But he saw them as a great moneymaker. So with the help of Pat Siciliano's production skills and just kind of the ineffectiveness of Torchlight, they started Surrender Cinema together. Softcore, much like Torchlight, but making these films, but unlike how Torchlight were horror, sci-fi, and fantasy, it was no longer a requirement for these kind of new Surrender Cinema films. Also, the sex was a much bigger part of these films. To this day, Surrender has made a bunch of movies, and even though Charles has worked on these, he's largely gone uncredited. It was these movies that the perverted younger version of yourself would stay up late to watch on Skinemax. Many of these were made for the video market, and like I said, to be sold to channels like Skinemax and some of the other late-night cable channels that that we used to stay up late to watch. Anyway, Beach Babes from Beyond was the first film to be released under the Torchlight Entertainment label. It's kind of a weird one because outside of 3 or 4 breakouts into softcore scenes, this would be akin to something that you'd see on USA Up All Night back in the day. Just kind of a fun sex comedy full of bikini-clad ladies and dudes trying to get their attention. In my opinion, it would fit right in with Dr. Alien starring Judy Landers, Bill Jacoby, and Olivia Barash. Oh, man. I love that movie, by the way. And that's, maybe it reminds me of that because Beach Babes from Beyond and Dr. Alien were directed by Full Moon stalwart David DeCoteau. How often have we talked about David DeCoteau on this show? Like, he comes up every episode. That's what a big impact he had on Full Moon and my childhood as well. But like I said, we've done a ton of his movies. He just kind of rules. You know that if you've watched any of the other episodes that I love his movies. But, okay, so this movie stars Sarah Bellomo, a.k.a. Roxanne Blaze. I assume this was before Roxanne Blaze. I'm not really sure who Roxanne Blaze is, and you can trust me on that. I'm not lying to seem cool because, I don't know. Anyway, you might recognize her is what I'm saying. She played Xena. Tamara Landry is Luna. And Nicole Posey as Sola. It also stars Michael Todd Davis as Dave and Ken Steadman as Jerry. And then this movie's claim to fame, totally in the trailer, it has big names: Swayze, Estevez, Travolta, Stallone. Well, of course, it was Joe Estevez that played Uncle Bud, Don Swayze who played Gork, Jackie Stallone who played Yana, and Joey Travolta who played Dr. Veg. Like I said, the trailer, it makes it a big deal, so it's just that kind of movie. It's just silly, funny, whatever. But also, this stars my favorite scream queen of all time, Linnea Quigley, as the evil Sally, and Burt Ward, if you'll remember him from the 60s Batman, as he played Robin, and he played Mr. Bunn in this. Well, this opens up with a fun, very silly space jaunt, complete with very low-budget space effects. We see Xena's parents taking some time for a little bit of non-parental time. They leave Xena along with Luna and Sola home to do whatever they want. These girls are looking for some fun, so they take the spaceship that the father has been restoring, like your grandpa does with the Mustang. They're just out looking for a good time. They're just these kids' fun times. We all were there, okay? Well, they didn't check the fuel level in the car and had to make a crash landing on Earth, specifically on the beautiful beaches of Southern California. Meanwhile, Dave and Jerry are making a cross-country trip to Southern California from the Midwest. They're looking forward to visiting Dave's Uncle Bud. Dave is a UFO nut and happens to notice something strange in the sky when the girls crash landed. Even though Jerry missed the lights, he said he's always open for a close encounter of the 69th kind. Bro, yes, this is amazing. Anyway, they meet up with Uncle Bud, a lifelong beach bum. He lives right on the beach, right there, like prime, awesome real estate, which is an amazing place for two wild and crazy guys, looking to score some chicks. Well, the beach is popping. There's a constant beach party going on. It's much like the old beach dance parties from the 50s, I guess, except with G-strings and much more revealing swimwear, and the girls don't seem as wholesome, but that is okay with me. Well, we get a good look at the party. This whole movie has what I like to call the lecherous camera. What's his name? Jess Franco is the king of the lecherous camera with zoom-ins on all the parts that we like to look at, I guess. But anyways, it takes us time exploring the partygoers with wild angles and some sweet zooms, like right onto butts. But I digress. I'm getting a little woof. Anyway, just kidding. So we have the three alien chicks out to explore the beach. Meanwhile, Dave and Jerry have met up with a local named Ziggy. He's happy to give these two dudes from the Midwest some tips on how to pick up California women, which is totally unnecessary because the alien chicks find these three dudes. And let's just say they hit it off. They all go back to Uncle Bud's house to hang out, and Uncle Bud gives them some soy milkshakes, which apparently has some kind of aphrodisiacal properties. Is that how you say that? Because we get some softcore breakout scenes. Like, it's just weird. These scenes are just like all of a sudden you're having this fun cheesy thing, then all of a sudden it like breaks to the sensual music, the mood lighting, and I guess I'm not super familiar with like how softcore is, but I assume this is pretty typical, right? Quite frankly, nothing is really unique about any of these scenes, but they'll do if that's what you showed up for, I guess. But anyhow, the evil Sally and her lawyer are rich magazine business people. They run a porno mag and do photo shoots up at their mansion overlooking the beach where Uncle Bud lives. Sally's lawyer, who by the way has a nice softcore scene while he was dreaming about one of the models they were shooting, he's serving Bud with an eviction notice. Somehow they're evicting him because he needs $30,000 in repairs on his house or he loses it, which I don't really understand how like that works legally, but I'm just going to go with it. We literally are watching a Torchlight Films sci-fi fantasy. Anyway, fantasy is the softcore parts, I guess. Anyway, like I said, it turns out that there is a bikini contest being held whose first prize is $30,000. What a coincidence! Zeta says she and the girls will enter the contest to get the $30,000 since they're only interested in space money anyway, and this will do them no good. Well, that goes against Sally's plans to make Bud homeless. So they have a long history, and you see they used to be lovers, blah, 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 and there's a whole like deep, dark, like deep plot with this. Trust me, it's really, I'm just joking. But so Sally kidnaps Xena. Long story short, she escapes, and they win the bikini contest, and everyone is happy. Sorry, spoiler. Oh, there's even a side character, Dr. Veg, who used to make fuel for rocket ships. He's basically he has a food truck on the beach, I guess. It's like a stand, but it's basically that. So the point is he's able to whip up some fuel for the girls to get home, and everything is tied up with a bow. Yeah, I spoiled the ending, you guys. I mentioned that, but there's not 1 second of this movie that you didn't know was coming. Even the super saccharine sweet ending with Bud and Sally. I don't think that's a reason people would be watching this. They're not in for the suspense and thrilling storytelling. If I had to guess, I'd say it's a silliness on the beach and the softcore scenes, but what would I know? I said before that this had the feel of one of those USA Up All Night sci-fi comedies, which is very true. Like those movies, even without the softcore scenes, or especially without the softcore scenes, it comes up with silly ways to like show boobs, like, oh, I'm coming running out of the locker room, and oh, my boobs are out, I forgot. And it's just stupid stuff like that, which is really funny, which is like a staple for those USA Up All Night movies. But the first time we meet the alien girls, there's like a whole full-on sensual shower scene that belongs in that kind of movie. There's a bunch of fun-time young people doing fun-time things, acting silly. The problem is it taking out the softcore scenes. If you were to do that, there's really not a lot going on in the story. Like, their trials and hurdles that the characters have to overcome are easy. Like, no real challenges to be had. Even when Xena gets kidnapped, they just go up there and have no problem rescuing her. It missed a lot of chances for the types of hijinks that is usually a part of that kind of movie, right? The USA Up All Night. So it doesn't do a very good job of being that kind of flick. The softcore scenes can be spliced out completely of this movie. They seem, like I said, they seem more like add-ons than actual movie scenes. They're totally different looking. I mean, it has the same people in it, but it's like they're completely different movies. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of movies like that. It's not to say I didn't enjoy this one, but I think mostly, and I'll be honest with you, it really had a sweet nostalgic feel for me. A feeling that if I didn't, if you didn't see those silly sex comedies back in the day, I don't know if it'll be a draw to you. But, I mean, if guys my age, stuff like that, we all know what I'm talking about. By the way, if you want to watch those kind of movies, I would go to Letterboxd. Somebody made a list of movies that were shown on USA Up All Night, and just watch some of those. And, they did scary movies. They did some silly action movie stuff like that, but a lot of sex comedies, which, I don't know. That was just my thing back in those days, I guess. I really enjoyed the video zone for this one. Interviews, trailers. By the way, the trailers were great. Ripped from VHS tapes. It really brought back the look and feel of the old days, man. I'm saying this like you can only enjoy this if you're old and you have nostalgia. And I think that's a lot of it for me, but I'm not dumping on it, so you won't like it if that's not you or whatever. So anyways, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of just getting a little too much into the nostalgia kick here, but it makes sense to me why Torchlight struggled. I even have the DVD of Test Tube Teens, and that suffers from these same kinds of issues, like I was talking about before with the silliness, they didn't really think about the story. They just were focusing a lot on those softcore scenes. But because the thing is, after all I've said, I actually really enjoy this film. I enjoy almost everything, though, so it's hard for me to really recommend it. But, I mean, truth be told, you can fast forward through the sex scenes, and it's the same old stuff in those. Imaginative dry humping, basically. I don't know. It just seems like obsolete now with the way the internet is for all you degenerates out there, but whatever. I don't know, man. Go check this out. Torchlight didn't last long, but it really was kind of the feeder into surrender cinema, which I have seen all the way through. I've seen 0 surrender cinema films. So, I mean, for obvious reasons, I'm not trying to be like the biggest horn dog on the planet, but that just might be who I am. But anyways, that's all I have for this one. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate you guys watching, man. I enjoy making these stupid things, these videos. But yeah, anyways, make sure to visit corpsecollective.com. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.